Hello and welcome back to the channel. This is Dyad and the Force, and today it's gonna be a lot of fun because we have a little bit of news about Star Wars Visions that are coming out. We had some awesome stuff happen in Afra recently, as well as we are gonna do some deep dive and some predictions into Acolyte. And stay tuned for all of this awesome stuff right here on Dyad and the Force.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Dyad in the Force. Let us shout out who is in the chat. We have some wonderful people. Harith is here. St. Pat is here. Fern, or Ace at Astra, is here. Ace Bronx, Richard Hall, Drew H, Cad Bain, Brandon Dean. Welcome, guys, to Dyad in the Force live for... I don't know. I haven't been keeping track now. We're
Enough times, plenty of times.
yeah. So as Chaco mentioned, we have some interesting news this week coming out of Del Rey, which is a known publisher for Star Wars books, which means this could. I don't know if they announced if this was going to be canon, because it is inspired by one of the tales that one of the animated houses are going to be doing for Star Wars Visions. Now, if you guys have been living under a rock, Star Wars Visions is the canon project, where Lucasfilm is having anime houses like Madhouse, Studio Bones. I would love a Visions movie by Ghibli. Yeah, they are this book that's coming out from Del Rey. It's called Star Wars Visions, Ronin, or Ronin. And it is by Emma Mieko Candon. And it is, as they say, coming October 12th. It's an original novel inspired by one of those animated tales in Star Wars Visions. So it's not a novelization, but I think this book can be a great representation of the type of stories we'll get. What's up, Star Wars guy? Tom Miller? What do you think? What's this announcement? How does it make you feel for Visions?
Excited. Okay. So I know this is one of the projects that they haven't really given us a lot of details on, but in the press conference, they said that Visions is going to tackle different stories within the Star Wars universe from the 25,000 years of Star Wars history. That's a lot of history. That's more history than we've ever seen. That predates the Old Republic and stuff. So there's gonna be a lot of really cool stuff that we're gonna get. And having some of the biggest anime studios is awesome because I'm a huge anime fan. And then keeping in theme with that, uh, getting Ronin, which I'm not going to try to pronounce it with Japanese because I feel.
Just know that I's are always E sounds.
Yeah. I'm not even comfortable rolling my R as my wife is Mexican. So, I'll get there eventually. But what is a Ronin, right? It's a wandering samurai with no master.
Yes,
That's the definition. So what does this mean? Are we? Is this going to be a way seeker story? Because it sounds like it's going to be someone. I feel like the analogy is to a Jedi that has no master, or at least no boss, no one telling them what to do, which implies that they're separated from the order. So this could be the story of the Cell Saber that we're hearing about, or maybe we're getting an Orla Jareni story, or it could be a previous person that became a Jedi Wayseeker who's out there in the world doing good, on their own. And whatever we get, I feel like it's going to be a direct echo to what Ahsoka is doing during the times of Rebels.
Yeah, the first thing that I thought of when I saw Odin, I was like, Wayseekers or Barish Takers. You know, just something. Even though like the Barish Taker isn't really a wanderer, so like Wayseeker like definitely connects to it more. And guys, if I were better prepared, I would have this on the screen. But if you don't know, this is the logo for it.
Ah, there you go.
And it's the cover's not final. That's for sure. But even without any illustration, just seeing the word Ronin next to Visions, knowing it's going to be anime, and knowing that this book is going to be based on an anime or inspired by an anime, that means that we'll largely get like that type of story. And I'm wondering, alongside you, whether or not we're going to get which type of like time period we're going to get, and if it is indeed
Feudal
about
Republic.
feudal republic. Oh man, that I hope that becomes canon. I really do. When they have the swords.
Yeah, it could be like the swords that they take crystals and just kind of hammer them into 'em. Yeah, I mean that was a thing in Legends. Shout out to Into the Void. Was it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is exciting news. This is our first actual drop of a nugget for Star Wars Visions. Xcore Gamerscale says Feudal Republic could be a thing. I think so. Like, was everything always like lo-fi sci-fi in Star Wars in terms of like the tech? Like, did they never have like a Dark Ages? Did they never have a point where things were not lightsabers and blasters? You know?
Man, it leads me to so many questions of like, because yes, High Republic is very much frontier days. They call it the frontier because they're going out to these worlds and doing all this stuff. But who knows what the in between or prior to that could be? We don't know if the way how the Republic was established in the first place in the core, but we do know it was not always there.
Yeah.
Um, we do know that the Jedi Temple was built on top of a Sith shrine. That means something else. There was other stuff going on prior to that. I would
Yes.
love to get some of that history because that could be amazing. What if the history of Coruscant is akin to like warring families during like a feudal area? I don't know.
Yeah, it would be interesting to see if Visions ever goes back far enough where we see like a primordial era Coruscant or the Tongs from Coruscant. Yeah, like if we ever bring back those legends. And
Steampunk is canon.
Harith says, "What era are you excited to see during Visions?" Dawn of the Jedi. If they're going all the way back, we need to see like the Call of Thoyor and Tython and the Dai Bendu, and finally get to see like what they actually meant by balance versus like people saying, well, the original Jedi wanted to be gray, and I'm like, no, stop it.
Also, the Zepho tried that and it didn't work. So
Yeah, they would. You know what? I think they said it in the game directly. They were like, we tried and we fell.
Yeah. The era I want to go back to is simply Yoda's parents. How long do you think one of his species carries their young, or is it eggs that they lay an egg and come back in like 50 years or whatever? And Yoda crawls out and has to find his way to the sea like a turtle. I don't know, but someone who was as old as Yoda, I would love to see like where they came from and how they got started in all this. It'd be an awesome way to have an echo of what Grogu is, without doing any spoilers for the Mandalorian, but it'll give us some context to it.
Yeah.
Um, or maybe even seeing, Yoda training Yaddle or something like that.
Yeah, I subscribe to the notion that they reproduce asexually and they lay eggs, which is why like Yoda and Yaddle never got it on, but Yaddle could have laid the egg of Grogu. And then
Or
she took the Barish and she left her egg with the Jedi Order. You know how like Satele left her son with her master, so it's like that could be the thing that happens with Jedi who have offspring.
and then he wasn't force sensitive and is like, "Come on, mom."
Oh, come on.
Yeah.
Poor Theron. Hashtag poor Theron.
Uh,
Um,
I want to say that they are spores off of like the back of another one. Like I want to imagine that they reproduce similar to Venom. Um,
how does Venom
and
reproduce?
so Venom will at some point kind of lay an egg, but it is somewhat more similar to like a spore, and that will just grow. It just gets dropped somewhere, and it'll grow separately. It has its own personality and all this stuff, and it
Ooh,
just like pops up out of nowhere. That's my thing.
yeah.
To Julie Christine, we believe that humans originate from Coruscant, but we we don't have any proof. Um,
Yep. There's also some Legends stuff. Do you remember the original name for Coruscant from Legends? Was it like Notron?
no, when you say original name, I think of the old audiobooks that say Coruscant. Um, but no, I don't recall the original name.
So in Legends, Julia, I think like the origin of most like colonialism and expansion in the galaxy came from Coruscant. I think like the Mandalorians came from the Tongs that came from Coruscant, or native to Coruscant, and the humans from Coruscant, and then they just kind of like it reached critical mass and humans multiplied. But of course, we don't have a canon answer as to how humanity started and how or where Coruscant was prior to the High Republic. High Republic is the earliest we have in terms of canon detailed stories. Would be interesting to see, Tom Miller says, would be interesting to see if Coruscant would be like Rome and have kings before the Republic. I mean, yeah, that's basically what we were saying, right? With the feudal republic or the what is it called? The medieval republic? Oh my goodness. Kings, queens. We have Duke, right? Count Dooku. We have counts.
I mean, considering how George Lucas originally like took different nations and things around the world and used them to formulate what we got, like the empire is based off of, yes, largely Germany in the 40s, but there's a lot of the United States from in there as well. I would love a situation where they've done this similar thing to these core worlds, where we could have something where, for a long time, with feudal Japan during what was it, the Edo period, where they kind of shirked off the westernization and
Yep.
kind of became a hub unto themselves. And you can have something like Coruscant, which is representation of the West, and like kind of play out those situations. Might be interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. Xcore Gamer still says, with such a slow growth to adulthood, it suggests a shorter gestation for Yoda species. Now, according to the canon book, absolutely everything you need to know, the slow growth is only the first 5 decades. And then afterwards, they like exponentially like mature. So in Grogu's case, he's 50. And according to the physiology in that book, his next couple of years is just going to be like him like lifting weights and just being like
beefy.
what is it, teenager Grogu, teenager Groot?
Yeah.
He's
Yeah,
gonna get there.
I
Is
mean,
there a similarity between
let's
how they
also,
mature? Groot
uh,
and
I actually I don't know that about Groot, but something that we take for granted as humans is like we're like, oh, it takes what 18 years to become an adult. It does it though, because you're a kid for most of the time. You hit your teenage years 12, 13, and that's when you have a rapid amount of growth.
Mhm.
And that rapid amount of growth happens from 13 to 17. Not that it stops, but there's a rapid portion. So someone like Grogu, it would not be surprising if it's similar, right? Growth is slow from 1 to 12, slow but steady. That could be where he's at 50.
Mhm.
But it's a relatively short time period, considering for the next 20 years for him. I don't know.
Yeah, and that's largely my theory around what happens to Grogu. I know a lot of people think that Grogu dies by the events of the sequel trilogy, but I think if my math is correct, he's 50 in 9 ABY, which means by the time the events of Ben happen, he is like 75 or around there. And so by then, I think my theory is that he is of the trials age and he is off world doing his Jedi trials. And he's probably went back to Din at that point.
Which is highly possible. I would like to clarify because a lot of people think that I want him to be dead because I use it in my comments a lot. I don't want Grogu to be killed or anything like that. I'm just I use it as a point where we can understand how much we love Grogu,
Mm-hmm.
and then Luke took Grogu, and then how Luke would feel if he lost Grogu. That's all.
Yeah.
But yeah, he could be off doing his own thing. He could be becoming the next Mandalore.
He could very well leave Luke at like 60 and be like, "This ain't for me, bro. I need Din back." he has macarons. You don't.
I mean, how cool would it be if we get some post Rise of Skywalker stuff after Rey has trained Finn and they together have started their own new little Jedi school, and something starts happening in the universe, something bigger than the Jedi can handle. So they reach out to the Mandalorians and Mandalore, which is Grogu.
Ooh. Ooh. The Mandalorian Jedi. I know. See, all roads lead back to Mandalore because I know in my post sequel story, it's definitely Mandalorian centered.
Something. So I don't know if you've dove into it at all. Just as a recommendation in Echoes of the Past, I would love it if you could pull something close to like the Hapes Consortium into it. Imagine this is a separate kingdom that is in an area of space that's largely unavailable because of like like solar stellar storms and stuff like that.
Yeah.
It's like a natural barrier, and they exist on a matriarchy. Like in Legends, they're a completely separate, and they were looking at Princess Leia to potentially become their next queen. So
Interesting.
the previous queen didn't have a daughter, had a son. The son was looking for someone to marry. Ends up marrying one of the Night Sisters. And and so that ends up being a crazy tie there. Their kid is who ends up hooking up with Jason Solo, and that's where their daughter Alana comes from. Super cool. Highly recommend checking them out.
Well then, there's room for you to do kind of like an Inception with your character. You know,
Okay. Okay.
it is your character's story, and we may be able to kind of squeeze in some kind of like connection there.
I like it.
Let's see here with the chat. Even in the late Republic, there were systems outside the Republic with monarchies. Oh, I think yeah, we're largely aware of a lot, like even the Ascendancy, right? How far back does the Ascendancy go? And then we have the Maxines.
Oh yeah. I mean, the Ascendancy is. I mean, long enough that they were at war with the Sith at one point,
Mm-hmm.
which implies some sort of potential overlap with the Maxine. But yeah, we don't know.
Padawan Anakin Skywalker. That is a very specific time in his life. I really think Cal Kestis appears in a future Star, or you really want Cal Kestis to appear in a future Star Wars series. I think he's a game guy. I don't know. What do you think? Do you think Cal Kestis has live action potential? I mean, of course he has an actor, but his story.
His story. No, I feel like his. Sorry, I don't mean to rain on anyone's parade. I just feel like the interesting parts of his story are going to be told in the context of the game. And it's I suppose it's possible that there will be some sort of adjoining content that gets created that he becomes a side character in.
Mm-hmm.
We haven't quite seen it happen the other way around. So like we've seen where characters like Shriv, who are from a game, appear in future books and things like that because they are alive around the same time period and same location. But I haven't seen it the other way around really. But who knows?
Yeah. Is Grievous a Sith or is he just a separatist with lightsabers? The latter.
He's a McNugget in a robot suit.
Harith. Oh, starting up some things, man. If there's one character that needs to die, is Cal Kestis. Oof. It makes no sense for him to live past the original trilogy. I largely agree
What did
with
Cal
you.
do with you?
I largely agree, though. I think there's way too many survivors now. You know, I think the High Republic is our sandbox for a lot of Jedi, but a lot of people want like survivors. Now, I want Quinlan Voss, I want Yaddle, but like, there's way too many of them now. I think they need to meet their end. I think I agree with Harith at least. Give us like Fallen Order 2 and then like a really, really sad ending. Am I like a masochist? What is it? What is the word for that?
No, that's a sadist. You okay, but what if we get this? Something where we get Fallen Order 2, and then we get a third game that is more akin to The Force Unleashed,
Mm-hmm.
and we're hunting down Jedi, and we hunt down Cal Kestis.
Ooh. Oh my gosh, that's like The Last of Us. The Last of Us vibes. I don't know if you've played The Last of Us, but in the latest game,
I have not. I'm not a zombie dude. Sorry.
it's not zombies. It's like seriously, you're a character driven guy. You would love this game. It's all about character dynamics and social relationships. It is not a zombie game. It is not like Resident Evil. Like
Really? Okay.
it's seriously Logan.
Interesting.
But in the most recent Last of Us, you actually get to play as the enemy. Of course, to build your understanding of their motivations and their perspective. Because they're your enemy from the perspective of like the character you're playing as the protagonist. But in their eyes and their perspective, everyone is the hero of their own story and all of these villains have their own motivations. And so this is giving me that idea right here where like just hypothetically, you would take the reins of like an inquisitor and you're hunting down Jedi, but you actually believe that you're doing the right thing, or it's kind of like Lost Stars where you would play as one of them in the Empire, and then you're faced with all of these moral dilemmas. You have to come to a decision, and so yeah, I mean that would be a great idea for Fallen Order 2. Just I think for like 80% of the game you're Cal Kestis, and then the last 20 you're actually hunting down Cal, and then would it be amazing to have like it would be okay, so the canon outcome is that he dies from that Inquisitor, but the non-canon, game mechanic is that you can choose to kill Cal or not.
Or what if it's like Marin or something like that? He starts to train. I don't know. It's too loving. I don't want that. But I'm just trying to think of because I have I haven't played it myself, but I have a lot of friends that played like the prequels, the Lego version, where you're playing as Anakin and Obi-Wan. You can play together, and then the end you have to fight each other now. Almost, what if there's a similar vibe?
Yeah.
I don't know. There's a lot of possibilities there.
Ace Bronx says Yaddle must live. I agree. Hashtag Yaddle lives. I think legacy characters are more likely to appear in Jedi Fallen Order 2. I don't know. I do want Quinlan Voss to show up at some point. But I also wanted to touch upon something that happened this week as well. Before we get started with Dr. Afra, I know that we kind of did like a Dyad reacts to it, and I think we still need to post that.
Yes, it'll be posted tomorrow morning. I had some things happen. But yeah.
Understandable. Oh, Ace Bronx, thank you for the 99 cents. I'm about to go to the dollar store, get me some Maruchan ramen. Thank you so much, dude, for that super chat.
Just one 99 cents. That's like 8, right? Weren't they like 10 cents a piece? Maybe I'm wrong.
I think so. I mean, I could always go to thrift and get something. I think the dollar store actually did have a dollar package that was like 6. So I think that could be what I'm thinking about. So 6 packs of ramen. Of course, I don't use their stuff. I just use the ramen itself. Cook the ramen, make my own broth. But let's see here. Brandon Dean says, I don't like zombie games, but the story of The Last of Us is so beautiful. Absolutely.
Okay, Brandon Dean, you're starting to convince me.
I'm surprised I didn't convince you. Have you played The Walking Dead with Clementine and Lee? You
haven't played it. I don't watch The Walking Dead because I don't like zombies.
Oh man. I get you. I get where you're coming from. You're not a zombie guy, so like stories involving zombies isn't really appealing on the surface level.
Exactly. After 28 days later, I was out. I mean, I love the movie, don't get me wrong, but like after that, I felt zombies got too prevalent. Like everything was zombies. You know what I mean? Like, don't care, don't want it.
Yeah, so the exception is that The Walking Dead and The Last of Us are largely social social stories and character-driven stories about a relationship between a troubled and scarred man who along with a young girl, and I say Logan for very purposefully, because I think Logan largely echoed the story of the first Last of Us. And so I would implore you to check out The Last of Us for sure, because it is so much more than a zombie game. You will, of course, the gameplay will have like, enemy monsters to deal with, but at the end of the day, it's kind of like your transportation means to get to the meat and potatoes of it, because like
Okay.
I always thought that
Zombies are
the
merely the garnish.
yes, it's just they're just there to give you a hard time, but at the end of the day, everything that matters, anything that's consequential, is just this relationship and this story between the characters, and it's so brilliant. But yeah, before we got derailed, we were talking about what happened this week with Star Wars Theory, and he continues to, I guess, rattle the fences, ruffle some feathers, so to speak. I don't know. I made a video on it. I think everyone has made a video on it at this point, with at least on TikTok or YouTube, and at the end of the day, he could do so much more, and he could be so much better. But of course, it's always his prerogative. It's always how he chooses to do it. Like I know I got some comments on my video saying those things about you can't control him, you're trying to censor his opinion, blah 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 blah. And I'm aware that it's his opinion that he hates the sequels, and I don't knock him or drag him for that opinion. I'm only saying that he could be so much better for the community. You can either be a
Yeah,
shining beacon of light or whole.
yeah. I had a great conversation with Hammy Demand, who was in the chat. I don't know if he's still there, but um, yeah, it's not his responsibility.
Yeah.
I recognize that. You recognize that. He's not responsible and doesn't have to do anything, which is okay. But
No,
to be able
he does have the responsibility as a creator and an influencer, but he doesn't have to do anything.
yes, that's a better way of putting it. No, you it's like, why not? Why do things that will fan the flames of hatred? Why do things that benefit the portion of the community that is causing the most trouble and headache? The sooner that we can heal, the sooner we can move forward. And I've had times where I've posted something or responded to something, and because of my response, someone else started getting attacked or something like that,
Yeah.
and that was not my goal. And I don't have to do anything about that. I don't have to, but I recognize it's my fault. People are doing this on my behalf, and so I making another post to let people know it's not acceptable. It's not what I want. That's not my goal. Because while I don't have to, it is my responsibility. I'm the one that has to stop it. And I just wish that other creators can um understand the impact of their actions.
Yeah. And it's a responsibility that you take willingly, putting yourself in front of the public as an influencer, as a content creator, with as anybody with a platform who, let's be honest, it is a conceited, it is a conceited business to put yourself out there and be someone of influence. And so to think that, and so to do that knowingly and think that you don't have to do anything about what you say is largely ignorant. And I think I don't remember who made this quote, but evil wins when good people do nothing.
Yeah.
Forget who said that, but that's largely what this is.
It's even worse than that, though, in my opinion. I mean, I made a video today on because I keep seeing people like use this clip from the director in the Jedi, the documentary on the making of the Last Jedi, saying that this is Mark Hamill breaking down on set, which is just a lie. It's an outright lie. But I keep seeing it pop up, and what I do now when I see it pop up is I go to that user And what you'll notice is that those users will have very low views on all of their stuff except the toxic things.
Yeah.
And it's because they're being rewarded by being toxic, by making your community worse. And so you have to end up being a bigger person and just and understand that, it's not about, but you don't get views, I mean, you don't get followers off of being toxic anyways. That's the funny part. I don't know any large creators that are super toxic openly, at least not in TikTok. And when you look at YouTube, there's a big gap between the straight up toxic ones and the ones that aren't in their followership.
Yeah.
Uh, but it's interesting because it gets you that instant high, which is literally what Star Wars is about, resisting the dark side because it's quicker and easier, but you ultimately end up not as powerful.
Yes. I forget. I recently coined a phrase in the Dyad book club server, and I didn't even realize it. And I think Justin was the one who said it could be a Yoda quote, and I was like, "Oh, you're right." And I think I said, "Only loneliness awaits those who." Oh man, I really need to look it up, man, because that was a great quote. Loneliness awaits those who um have low effort hatred, something to that degree, where the idea is hatred, but it's low effort, you know.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, but I'm not gonna lie, it did have some Michael Scott energy of like, here's a quote. It's a quote from myself, but I don't
Yeah.
remember it.
Hey, welcome to the show, Starkiller or AJ, Heather Collins. Welcome, Dukes. We're getting some new people in the Streamio. Hemi D man, I don't think he is inherently toxic. I don't think so either. And especially, it especially irks me when people watch my video and think that's what I'm saying. I do not think he is a bad guy at all. I don't think he himself is pushing toxicity. I think associating with toxic channels and not speaking up against toxicity is where his problem lies. Any normal person does not have the responsibility to do that, but if you're an influencer and you could be shaping or cultivating this community positively, and you don't speak up against the negativity and the toxicity, then I'm sorry to say the reality or how the real world works is that you are guilty by association. Now, he could very well come out tomorrow and disavow geeks and gamers, and I would be okay with that. He could very well disavow their practice of botting the High Republic channels and harassing was it Christy Ariel?
Christina, yeah.
And there's just a whole bunch of like toxic behavior that he could stand up against, but he doesn't. And so like it doesn't make himself toxic. It doesn't make him a bad guy. It really is a missed opportunity on his part to kind of be that beacon or be Luke Skywalker. Let's see here. Heather says, I hate how he didn't do anything when his fans sent death threats to Eckert's ladder. Yes, there's just a lot of there's a lot that happens around him that is I guess poor decisions or just.
I mean, like Hammy Demand put it perfectly, is it's definitely tone deaf is his statements, but
Yeah.
There's some actions that, if you do nothing, it's actually worse than doing nothing and something happens. It is if people do bad things, toxic things on your behalf. So it's not being a passive bystander. It's some people are doing things on his behalf, and you don't stand against it, which is a little bit different.
Yeah.
But yeah, no, all we can do is try to be the change and be positive and move forward.
Absolutely. And I do want to reiterate what Chaka just said. We, as the Dyad, and we, as this brilliant, positive, and loving TikTok community, have come together to push and to cultivate this this budding, positive community that we have with all of you in the chat, with all of our followers, with all of the people who have started to, you know, raise their voices and express themselves, express their love for the sequels, express their love for just Star Wars, right? Because at the end of the day, we're not sequel lovers, we're not prequel lovers or original lovers. We are lovers of Star Wars. We just have our favorites, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And it goes with the MCU as well. I have my favorites. Winter Soldier is my number one, but I love all of the Marvel movies and shows. Yeah, I loved Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. too.
So did I. Give us the Isaiah Bradley cut.
Oh my goodness. We're building something bigger and better here. There are more of us. Absolutely. And at the end of the day, like, as Chaco said, when you have like low effort hatred with like those videos that just like low views, and you're like, okay, I'm gonna do something that's toxic, and or I'm just gonna like throw out a Last Jedi was garbage video and say that Mark Hamill agrees, and then get all those views, but you realize that it's a shaky foundation to be on. Right now, even like despite how many followers you and I have, we have an amazing group of people within the Dyad Book Club, within your Discord server, that are just like awesome people to talk to. You know, especially in this time, you need people to talk to. And I just love talking to each and every one of them. You know, AJ is one of them. He's been on Dyad in the Force, and I'm hoping Harith will be on Dyad in the Force in the future. And I also do want to clarify that yes, the last 2 weeks has just been the Dyad guests. We're largely supposed to be every other week, but we got ahead of ourselves.
Yeah, also, we do have to keep in mind, you know, whether we have the big thing about the main difference with Dyad and like High Ground is you typically evergreen content versus Dyad where we're covering news and pressing things happening. It's been a little bit slow in the Star Wars universe. There's always something to talk about, always
Yeah.
something. But um, we really want to bring people on when we have a topic that we know they are going to be hitting it out of the park on. And you know, we don't want to waste you guys on this on
Yeah,
small fry stuff, you know.
absolutely. Heather Collins says, I hate how people complain Star Wars has become woke now, but the original trilogy was inspired by the Vietnam War, where the rebels are the Viet Cong and the Empire is the USA. Yes, absolutely.
Star Wars is inherently about social justice.
Yes.
It's literally the purpose of it. So
I also hate the notion of being woke. It's like, why do we have social labels for being decent?
I don't consider myself woke at all. I'm just not a dick. I don't know. It's so funny.
Whenever we talk about like being decent, respecting people,
AJ.
Yeah, whenever we talk about like respecting people, it's like, oh, you're being politically correct. I'm like, I'm just being decent, just being nice. What's going on here? And then suddenly, like, they turn around and complain about the red Starbucks cup. War on Christmas. Anyway, I honestly think that Solo is a great film. It just drags on a bit. I like Solo too. It's low on my list, but not near the bottom.
Solo has a different purpose for me. Solo is you're folding clothes and you want to put something on, and it's just like it just goes and goes and goes, and it's not going to like pull you out of what you're doing to the point of
distraction.
Yeah, it's, you know, it's like for me, Empire Strikes Back is ergo proxy. Versus like um Solo, which would be like My
you're
Hero Academia, where you can just like
you're
you
able
can
to
turn it
tune
on.
out, right?
Even if I'm not reading the subtitles, I know exactly what's happening, and
Right.
I'm not lost.
Yeah.
I don't know. That's how I feel.
AJ, I just saw your message. I love you too, man. That's what Chaco was responding to, and I did not take the hint. If we're talking about Star Wars theory, I personally think that Mark, he now does Rule of Two with, is definitely part of the problem. His ramblings do my head in.
Oh, that do his head in. Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's largely, it's at the end of the day, it's largely who he associates with and whether or not he's going to speak up against those people. Right? You're either going to uplift the voices of people who love Star Wars, or you're gonna let the voices of those who hate Star Wars perpetuate. Um,
Yeah, and then also, I mean, not to dwell on this subject too much, but one thing I will say is, at least for me personally, I have two definitions when it comes to toxicity. First one being is trying to invalidate either the movie, the characters, the actors, the trilogy, or the fans. If you do something that invalidates them, if I say Rey's not a Skywalker, that's invalidating the character and their journey. It's also invalidating the people who really identify with that because they have found family, or they were ostracized by their own family, or they're adopted, things like that. The second is, do you bring more positive than negative into the community? And if you
yeah,
bring more negative, then that means that the community is better without you, that your overall footprint is negative or toxic. It takes away from the community. So if you, every time you do podcasts or streams, you're only doing it with people who are overwhelmingly negative. Like there's certain people where half of their content is Star Wars, but I can't tell if they like Star Wars at all because every video has Kathleen Kennedy with lasers in her eyes.
yeah.
Um,
I think
that's the voice that you're boosting, you know.
yeah, and I think I saw recently on one of my recommended feeds. It was a thumbnail that said Luke Skywalker show in the works. Do fans even care? I'm like, yes. That's
I
a
would love
simple
that.
answer. That's a
That
simple
sounds
answer.
awesome.
I can already tell though, that video probably talked more about Kathleen Kennedy than it did Luke Skywalker. Um, and then we have all of this stuff happening with the High Republic videos where they're being botted and from people who have never read the High Republic or have no. It's all in bad faith. They don't have any kind of like basis to which they are critiquing anything. It's just blind hatred. And this goes with the High Republic show as well. At the end of the day, we just need to speak up against it, and if you're not speaking up against it, then you're part of the problem. I'm sorry to dossy it up that simply in that kind of like deconstructed, but that's what it is, man. If you're not speaking up against it, and I don't mean to be toxic back. I don't want you guys to call them names or invalidate them back, right? We're to welcome everybody into the community, welcome all opinions. All opinions are valid, and it's all about civil discourse. If you can disagree with someone and not have an argument, you're already a great person. So let's move on to this next segment. It's going to be a really quick segment just because it's not that big, but I wanted to get your opinions and your reaction to it because we've been slowly seeing these small Easter eggs and connections to the High Republic from the rise of Kylo Ren, and now we actually do have a really big connection in Afra issue 8. So, without spoiling it, tell us what happened and what the connection is and how you
I'll
feel about
spoil.
it. I mean, I don't think we would be spoiling the actual comic if we're
Okay,
talking
okay,
about
true.
what the connection is.
Uh, yeah, they the cool thing that happened is that we have them exploring a ship and realizing that it is a Nihil ship. It's a ship from the Nihil. And if you know them, you know how they have a very unique way of traveling through hyperspace. So they're trying to recover the hyperdrive and finding out that this is far more advanced than anything they've ever seen. The analogy is that other other hyperdrives are like a rock with a string tied around it by comparison, not to be confused with Geode.
Yeah.
Um, Geode does not wear a string. He has no need for a belt of any kind. He just lets it all hang out. But
Well, as Claudia Gray said recently in that interview with Star Wars Explained, he's not a rock. He's
he
Ventian.
is not a rock. He looks like a rock. He's
Yeah.
not a rock. Um, but it's fascinating because we may get some information here. Like we're gonna get some idea, some more history or background on the Nihil, and having someone who is an archaeologist, albeit a rogue one, is haha. You see what I did there? Anyways, um, uh, we, I'm sure she has some additional history. I love the fact that we can contextualize it because history to us as the readers does not quite equate history to them, the people inside of the universe. And I think it's really cool when we get to kind of explore the difference there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. And
Brandon Dean, you're right. You are absolutely right. Claudia Gray needs to be on Died in the Force.
yes,
I
yes,
need to make
yes,
that happen. You should all start irritating her, trying to get her on our show.
yes. At her on Twitter and Instagram, and just tell her Dyad in the Forest deserves an interview. Or, oh, that sounds a little. just tell her that she needs to be on Dyad in the Forest. We're nice people, and we'll make some macaroons. Can you cook? Can you bake?
I can't bake. I can cook. I can cook. The shrimp I made last night are just oof, amazing.
Um, yeah, and like absolutely, like I don't know why I never thought that that Afra could be the one to find these things. Like we talked about these when talking about High Republic, like. Oh, they can have artifacts that are even older than the High Republic, and then we can have artifacts that date to the High Republic. And I never once thought that Afra, the archaeologist, would be the one that's finding these artifacts. And I think it's crazy now that we have this kind of lens into, or this connection, because you always thought that this High Republic initiative was just going to be in the High Republic, but they're making these like connections in Afra, and they're in Rise of Kylo Ren, and this whole world is going to start connecting so much.
Yeah, it's funny because once I read through this, which I was behind, so I read through it today. But um, Disney is cheating. They're absolutely cheating, and here's what I mean when I say that. During Marvel, what did they call the event? It was after Legend. It was all new, all different Marvel. What they did is they took every character, split them in two, and had two different people holding the mantle in some form or fashion that was different than the original. And they cheated because they did this for source material. So, like, they had infamous Iron Man, which was Doctor Doom taking the role of Iron Man, but they also had Ironheart, which was Riri taking the same role. They had Sam Wilson be Captain America, but they also had Steve Rogers being Old Man Cap. They had Old Man Logan in the universe at the same time X-23 was being Wolverine. they took all of these roles and they split them to give them source material. Star Wars is doing the same exact thing. They're covering all this stuff and building this really strong web, and they're doing it using comics and books and the things that that the less open to change people are less likely to find, less likely to read, likely to find interesting. And all of us who love it are diving into these things and consuming them at this incredible rate. And what's going to happen is they're going to start making movies and shows and stuff based off of all this. And the difference is they're going to have all of us backing it.
Yes.
They're cheating, but it's wonderful. It's ingenious.
It's incredible. It's incredible how big this world is going to get, how connected it's going to get, and we often talk about, them not having thousands of pages of source material, and now they do. They definitely do.
It.
And it's all canon. What was the difference before was we had 6 movies, no canon, books or comics, right? It was all
and
just
a lot of
adjacent.
them that break canon. Yeah.
Yes. And so now we actually
to answer the question I've been asked 1,000 times. No, I do not want lightsaber color meanings to be brought into canon, and no, I do not want a lightsaber to change color as the user matures, because then it becomes like a lightsaber hierarchy thing where you're like, oh, I don't have to worry about this guy. He's a blue saber. It's weird.
Yeah, or it becomes like a mood ring.
I love what Brandon Dean says here, though. I'm boycotting denial if they connect to nihilists. It sucks.
Shout out to our good friend Sawyer for that nihilist hate.
I'm actually gonna take a little screenshot of that. So
it's on the video right now.
I can do both.
But yeah, so like it being connected, we now have 9 movies and we now have a whole bunch of books and comics that are canon. And so, given the fact that there is no separation or distinction or divide in continuity, that means that every single story that we're getting from here on out is going to be connected in some way, shape, or form with something that we read in some book or comic that has released. And that's the type of stuff that's daunting for some people, because when you think about Legends, you're kind of like, there are some things you don't know, some things that you don't understand. It's convoluted, and some of these things contradict each other. And then like, where does the coherency come? And
what's funny is, because I get asked the question all the time, I want to start reading Star Wars, but I don't know where to start.
Mm-hmm.
If we're talking canon, I can give you 6 places to start right now, depending on what you like the most. Yeah, absolutely, can make recommendations. When people say, "What about Legends?" I get tired.
Yeah. That's why I always just say Old Republic. Ramen.
So, yeah. It's either Old Republic or Heir to the Empire. It's a great book, but everything else is too contingent on everything else before and after it that you can't really separate it.
Yeah.
But it breaks Star Wars, so yeah.
Yeah, and now we have this sprawling universe basically now, with comics, books, games that are, canon to a degree. But the books and comics are canon, and then we have all of these movies, and then we have these shows. We have so many things that are canon, that this Disney Plus universe, Lucasfilm universe, is going to just like exponentially grow in the next couple of years with Book of Boba Fett, Ahsoka. Like, our world are about to change, guys. We're gonna have so much stuff to keep track of. I think already we have so much to keep track of just in the new canon alone. I can't keep up with it all.
I can't keep up. I'm not up to date on all the comics. So the books are my thing, comics are his thing, and then we work together. To answer core gamer skills, he said, so today I heard Plagueis isn't technically Sidious's master in canon. I will have to double check, but I believe it is confirmed that Plagueis is Sidious's master, and I believe that is confirmed in the Tarkin novel by James Luceno. I will, and even his droid 114D is around and kicking, mostly because James Luceno wrote the book Tarkin as well. But I will, I'll have to double check that.
Yeah, that's right, right? Because they don't make that connection in Revenge of the Sith. It's not like
Correct.
stated.
Yeah.
Darth Anonymous asks, what do you recommend reading after Light of the Jedi? I recommend the junior novel, A Test of Courage. But if you're not a fan of young youth readers, I would recommend Into the Dark. But Light of the Jedi, Into the Dark, A Test of Courage, they all happen within the same sphere of time. So if you're coming from Light of the Jedi, you can read either of those.
Ooh, question for you, Element. What is your favorite example of and this is coming from a question I received on a video like weeks ago, and I just forgot to answer it. But what is your favorite example of Jedi or Sith using the Force to prevent them from essentially dying in space? Legends or canon? I feel like I know what your Legends example is.
Well, of course, that would have to be. I mean, I have a favorite example in canon that actually comes from A Test of Courage, but then they didn't actually survive. But
it worked.
Yeah, it did work. It did work. But I know you're definitely referring to Fatal Alliance when Satil Shan made a bubble around her, and I forget what the ship was called, but it was like a wreckage, and then Shigar had to go save her.
I just love that scene. Of course it is Legends, but you guys imagine she's on a shipwreck, and in order to save herself, she creates a bubble using the Force around her to trap the air in, and at the same time puts herself into a trance where she is essentially close to being in stasis, so that she can use as little of that small amount of oxygen as possible. And she just has to hope that someone saves her before she runs out of air.
Yeah.
I think that's super cool. The Test of Courage one, I also like that as well, where the ship is essentially being ripped apart, and they're using the Force to try and hold the air in so they can survive long enough. But I feel like I got to ultimately give it up to Kanan with his out of ship things that he did against Maul in Rebels. Prior to Leia's survival in space, Kanan also was kicked out of his ship and get back in and survive, and
when did that happen?
just be
Remind
a bit
me.
of a badass. I want to say this is season 3.
Was it like mid hyperspace?
No, it wasn't mid hyperspace, but Maul kicked him out while trying to piece together the holocron and the Sith holocron in order to find Kenobi.
Oh.
And he used that to get Kanan out of the way.
Yeah, my memory's shaky on Rebels now. Gosh. I only remember 4. Season 4, season 1 and 2. Oddly enough. I think season 1 and 2 because we've been watching it along with our good friend Sawyer. Heather Collins says, "Hey Element and Choco, did you hear about what is happening in the official Star Wars comment sections?" Yes. Unless there's a new development. It's just copy pasta Gina Carano stuff. It's disrespectful. And I think I'm gonna invite Lord Dagavir onto next week's podcast to talk about being a social media manager and how he feels about, all of these people who have jobs, making content for Star Wars, making content for the High Republic show, making content for the High Republic animated shorts, and just being someone who has a job and that's their livelihood. And it all comes down to people who just have beef with the sequels not being what they wanted. And then in turn having beef with Kathleen Kennedy. And blaming her for everything.
Just the idiocy of not liking what happened with Gina Carano because it's considered cancel culture, which hers wasn't. But having a hashtag fire Kathleen Kennedy and not seeing that, you realize that's trying to cancel her without any provocation or doing anything wrong.
Yeah, but the difference is they were personally wronged, right? Their childhoods were ruined. They ruined their Luke Skywalker. So they were personally wronged, which means it's okay to cancel them. But if it has anything to do with anybody else that's wronged,
but
right, like,
but
you don't.
Pablo Hidalgo said something he thought was innocuous and was attacked. Now he did double down on it on his Twitter, but ultimately apologized and left social media. And when someone else like Gina Carano does that with a marginalized group, doubles down on it, but doesn't apologize. It's weird. It's the mental gymnastics for me. That's my.
Yeah. Ace Bronx asks, what's the difference between High Republic Adventure comics and the normal High Republic comics? The normal High Republic comics are Marvel, and High Republic Adventures is IDW, and the High Republic ones is following Keeve Trennis and her journey with Sarit and Tarek and Skier and Avar Chris. And then the High Republic Adventures is largely following Lula Talasola and Zine Morala and a whole bunch of other Padawans with Yoda and Master Buck.
Buckets of blood.
So very separated stories, very separated characters, but very much kind of like still intermingled into the High Republic narrative around the Nile and the Drenger.
Yeah, I mean, one of the things that you can kind of think of as a difference is one of them does skew a little younger than the others.
Yes.
Adventures does skew younger, but it's mostly because the characters that we are following are younger. They have different sets of problems. Both of them are excellent reads, though.
Absolutely. I'm 99% certain that they mentioned Sidious's tutor Plagueis at one point in Tarkin.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so we are remembering it the same way. The only reason I said maybe is because I am planning on rereading Tarkin very, very soon. As soon as I'm just finishing up Ahsoka for a second time. But I'll be revisiting that one very, very soon. By the way, Core Gamer Skills, can we cast Idris Elba as Loden Greatstorm? Yes. God,
yeah,
yes.
That was my original casting. I don't know if you saw that, Core Gamer Skills, but we were 100% in agreement with that casting. Brandon Dean says Daniel Jose Older's High Republic run is really good. Absolutely. And he does have.
Following him on TikTok, please do. He's a great guy. He'll give you little tidbits on what it's like to write for Star Wars, as well as tidbits for how to write just in general. He's a wonderful dude.
Absolutely. He has a book out now. It's a YA on, I think it's called Flood City.
Flood City, yeah.
I don't know why I said I think it's called. I'm actually in the middle of reading it. But he also has one. This is where I was going to say I think it's called. I think he has one coming out in either June or July, along with Rising Storm, and it's called Race to Crash Point Tower. And I think that is a junior novel, but as with all things Star Wars, everything Star Wars is meant for kids, but you can read it. Read it. Read Race to Crash Point Tower. Read Rising Storm. All of these books are going to be amazing, and I can't wait. Shouts out to Daniel Jose Older for letting us interview him a couple months ago or a couple weeks ago.
I love how Claudia Gray put it in her recent interview of like, isn't all Star Wars YA?
Yeah.
Because essentially what makes something YA is whether it's coming of age or not.
Yeah.
The original trilogy is Luke's coming of age. Prequel trilogy is Anakin's coming of age. Sequel trilogy is Rey's coming of age. And although they are slightly older than what we would consider for young adult, that's the point, is they weren't doing anything until they started. They all got later starts in life. But yeah, technically all Star Wars is YA.
Yeah. Ace Bronx says, how many issues for High Republic Adventures? I think we're on 3, right?
I haven't gotten 3 yet, but wait, have I?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah, I think we're on 3. We're on 3.
Rosamund Pike for Avar Chris. I don't see it. You know who I like for Avar Chris, and that's Katie Lotz. I'm sorry. Do you have a pick for Avar Chris?
After you said Katie Lotz, I lost it. I don't remember anymore.
Anakin Skywalker Padawan says, I really hope Qui-Gon appears as a Force ghost in Kenobi. Yeah. I'm pretty sure. Well, no, it's still rumors, I think. Right? They didn't confirm his casting, but I wouldn't be surprised if he's there. They've got to do that short story from Master and Apprentice. It's almost like a requirement at this point for Obi-Wan Kenobi to do that short story. What is Daniel Jose's TikTok page? It is at Daniel Jose Older.
Hard to remember, I know.
3 will be the next HRA issue. They're one behind Marvel's run. Okay, so we're on High Republic Adventures 2 and High Republic 3 with the Drenger. Okay. So let's move on to our final topic, our big finale topic, which is The Acolyte. Leslie Headland's female-led Darksider show. We in passing we've made comments here and there. What could it be? Who could it be? Who could fall to the dark side? And what could it be about? But we've never really taken the time. We've never really taken the time to actually kind of make predictions or talk in depth as to what we could see in this show. And I'll start us off because I think this show is largely a great way for them to canonize Tenebris, Plagueis. Well, Plagueis is canonized, but a story of Plagueis, Tenebris, Plagueis, and a way for them to adapt Talon into canon, because she does not her existence from Legends like 1-to-1 doesn't make sense in the current timeline. So we could insert her into the Acolyte, maybe now. Okay, so the current time period of High Republic is 232 BBY. And it's estimated that this is 80 BBY because Dooku Jedi Lost is like the start of the fall of the Jedi era, and that's 82. And so it's speculated, at least in the community, that the tail end of the High Republic is 80. And so if it is in fact 80, or if it is like 100 to 80 BBY, we could be dealing with Tenebris, Plagueis, and the ones that pass on their knowledge to them could be the Acolyte. See, like the thing that I'm like confused about is what they mean by Acolyte. Is it going to be a follower Acolyte, or is it going to be the Acolyte that ends up going on to continue the Sith? Like the Acolyte, like the beginning of the show is Acolyte, and then by the end, she's a Sith Lord, like Talon, and then she teaches Tenebris, and Tenebris teaches Plagueis, and then they go on from there. Or is it about an apprentice that is an acolyte, and that's their growth and that's their journey.
If if I'm the one making the show, here's what I'm doing. I am going to show the fall of a Jedi and them getting convoluted, them discovering dark side items or things like that. I think there's a real chance. I think back to the Darth Bane books, second book. I'm sorry, is it your first time through them right now?
It is not my first time through Path, but it is but the other two I haven't.
Ah, okay. Well, never mind. But there have been Jedi in the past that have been tasked with finding Sith artifacts and things like that, and those people have a higher chance of falling because of coming in contact with those things. Um, if I'm them, I'm charting this as the path from a Jedi to falling to the dark side slowly and giving reason for it and making us feel that fall. And then the end of the show is them becoming the next Darth, right? So you can have them as a Jedi going through this path. Maybe their master is kidnapped, killed, something like that. Um, and they act out of emotion and then they're lost. They feel like they can't return and they kind of go down this path. And then the end of the show is them being like, is the equivalent of, I now pronounce you Darth Vader, type of thing. And then that's credits roll done. And you're like, no, but I mean more. And then that's
oh, thank you so much, Brian with the beard, for the $5. I get to have 30 packs of ramen.
I like how it is. It's framed in ramen.
Yeah,
I remember Arby's was doing a special where they're like, "Hey, you can get 5 items for $5," and you're like, "Can I get 1 item for $1?" Like, what is this? What are you?
Oh yeah, like the $5 box or something in the $5 bags. Yeah. No, but thank you very much, Brian, for that super chat. A very special shout out to you as well. He did get both Team Element and Team Choco Dyad in the Force shirts. He did show that picture in this Discord, and so now he is part of a very special group of people that can watch Godzilla versus Kong with us. Even though that's going to be public anyway, I'm just going to invite everybody. But yes, thank you for your patronage and for that super chat. So you think that, or did you have something to say about that?
Oh, no. Go ahead.
So you think that the entirety of the Acolyte is going to be the growth and them being like an apprentice and then going into Dark Lord?
Well, so we were originally speculating that this would be a Afra show because it was supposed to be adventurous, going from place to place, doing all these exploring and all this stuff. And that doesn't lend itself to being in one place and training.
That's true.
It's exploration. It's
I mean, it could be training too, right? As a Wayseeker would be. Their training is like, focused on going around and finding things to learn. Like, what if they're self-taught? The Sith have been extinct for so long that they have to start from scratch.
Yeah, no, you're totally right. If this is a self-taught thing, if they find items or scrolls or flimsiplast, as would be accurate in the Star Wars universe, that give them ideas of the dark side and all the stuff that are kind of like down that path. Absolutely. But I view that as the same thing, as this is someone's journey. And they could just be a regular person, but I foresee someone that understands the Force and their place within it and how to access it in order to go down this path.
Yeah. I like it. I largely agree with you. Um, and something that I do want to say about the Acolyte, has it been confirmed, at least in canon, that Darth Plagueis is in fact a him?
It has not. It hasn't even been confirmed that they're immune.
Yeah.
I'm trying to picture what a female immune would look like.
And we don't have a canon Tenebris, right, saying that he's a Bith or anything. Okay. And so
Son of a Bith.
So this is the thing that I'm like seeing the most when I talk about the Acolyte and people who want a story of Plagueis and Palpatine. Brian with the beer, where can I get this pallet of ramen for $5? If you go to like the dollar store, you can get like 6 packs for $1. But
and the low end stuff is pretty close to that, even at because right next to me I got myself an H Mart and a Zion Market.
Yeah,
love those places.
But yeah, back to the Acolyte. Whenever like I think I saw a video about from Austin Shock, who wanted a story from Plagueis, a show about Plagueis and Palpatine, because Palpatine is his favorite character. And I was like, well, no, we have Acolyte, so that could be a thing. He's like, well, it's going to be female led. And I'm like, well, at the same time, if it's not canonically confirmed that Plagueis is a him, we could theoretically get the Acolyte we can get a female Plagueis. Or a female Tenebris. But I do like the idea that it's largely a journey or an exploration or an expedition type of show, and I truly believe that Acolyte, if not anything at all, Acolyte is going to be the show for them to do a backdoor pilot on a show called Sheev.
Yeah, I mean, my dice is being rolled that our Acolyte will be either a female Tenebris or the one that trains Tenebris. But like I said, when I say I want them to announce the Sith name as a very last thing, I want it to be Tenebris.
Yeah. Now, of course, I saw some comments in the chat about what time period this is from. There's no actual specific time period that's been ascribed to the Acolyte. They just said it's the tail end of the High Republic, and so what the community has been doing is estimating that when Dooku Jedi Lost happens in 82 BBY, and so that is the start of the fall of the Jedi age. And so prior to that, which would be 80 BBY and older, is High Republic, up to 232 BBY. So it could be anywhere from 80 BBY up to really anything. We don't have any kind of clue as to when the High Republic actually starts to fall, right? So it could be from 200 to 80. It could be 100 to 80. But I think the High Republic will at least from the idea or the concept that they are at the height of everything, at the golden age, I don't think it would last only 30 years. So yeah, it could be around there. So that's the timing between like 180 BB, 100 to 80, not 180, but 100 to 80 matches up with Tenebris Plagueis being in time to train Sheev Palpatine. So anywhere from 100 to 150, we could see the Master of Tenebris, like a female master, or Tenebris themselves being female and training Plagueis. I think that's an awesome outlook right there. I really love the season finale, like the bookend right there, where you not to like make light of that moment with Revenge of the Sith, you shall be known as Darth Tenebris, and then the credits. But I'm just imagining that, and then you're just like, crying. Oh, he wasn't ready.
But the way you said that leads me to feel like it's gonna be like a Mon Cala.
You shall be known as Darth Tenebrous. It's a Darth. Sidious says the pronoun he in Revenge of the Sith. Does he? Have you ever heard of the tragedy of Darth Plagueis?
I don't recall, but I also could just be like filling in blanks in my head.
I mean, he could have, but then that just makes it so that like Tenebrous could be the female.
Yeah.
Either way, he's not even. He's like you said, he's not confirmed to be Mune either. So it could be like an asexual species or a non-binary species, and Sheev is just like, you know, he's assuming their gender. You know, Sheev's like that. Harris says, "Oh, I never thought of Acolyte as a female Plagueis origin show." Yeah, I mean, if it is true that in Revenge that he referred to him as he, I mean, you could wiggle around that. But if it is in fact a he, then of course would have to be a he. Again, you could bypass that, but
I mean, let's face it. Like there is, I mean, you're right, Harris. Where it says he was so powerful and so wise. That's again while I'm kind of like harping on Tenebrous, but we you never know. I mean, maybe people are just characterized like. Is there any true reason to believe that Jabba the Hutt? I don't know. Is there like? I actually never mind. I don't want to think about that.
AJ says, doesn't Dooku name drop the High Republic and Jedi Lost like a quick reference, so it had to have ended by the time. Did he say High Republic?
I don't recall. Not to my recollection, but the High Republic was not really a thing. We were still on Project Luminous when it came, because I read. That's the problem with reading these books within a week of their release, is you don't gain the extra context from. There's some stuff that you lose context of if you don't recall it. So I will definitely be revisiting it.
It's interesting because I know even in Afra, this latest issue of Afra, she calls it the Old Republic. And I think, you know, that's largely a colloquial thing. Like anything before their time is just Old Republic.
Well, I mean, we refer to things as the Old West. You know, even if we talk
not the
about
Wild Wild West.
Sorry, now I can't think because I'm just doing lyrics of like Jim West, Desperado, Rough Rider. No, you don't want nada. None of this. 6-gun brother running this. Buffalo Soldier. Look, it's like I told you. Yes, I can keep going, but
wow,
I
used to know that. I used to know that. It was coming back to me as you were singing that. We're rapping.
Now, any damsel that's in distress, be out of that stress when she meets Jim West. Yeah, there's. It
Will
makes
Smith,
sense.
Will Smith was
that,
great at clean rap.
Sorry, I don't know if that's a specific reference to Undercover Brother, but it's a good one if so. I like Will Smith. He raps happy. Is what someone says in the film. No, but there's a lot to look forward to, and again, this is the project I'm most excited for. But I am going to start having to wrap up here. What are you expecting?
Like I said, I expect it to be more so than anything an introduction to the Sith. Like we got the High Republic. Great. You told us there's no Sith. So this obviously is a dark sider, and we're definitely not going to get a show called Acolyte about a Drenger who is an acolyte. So
it just goes meat over and over again.
It's a meat. But yeah, I think it has a huge potential to give us, the Sith lore that we are missing because we don't have a lot of that, especially in canon. We don't have dark side lore, we don't have Sith lore, we don't have Sith history, we don't have we don't have a canon Agenta Paul. I don't think we don't have a canon origin, at least in detail. And so this is a great vehicle for them to push Sith ideology, not like in a propagandistic way, but like push their ideology and their lore and their history, and establish a canon foundation from which the Sith arise. That's more than just conjecture on the Jedi's part, right? We need actual Sith, to also espouse this stuff. And so, you know, I like the female Plagueis or the female Tenebris or the Darth Talon angle, where it's largely going to result in the training of Tenebris and lead into the fall of the Jedi, because I think the fall of the Jedi largely starts with Plagueis, right? With Plagueis and Palpatine. And of course, I think there's going to be a backdoor pilot for Sheev, a Star Wars story. And I think people are going to show up for it, because he only just got that name recently, so I think it works for a TV show. AJ says, just looked it up. Dooku says, if you believe the stories, Terradine was a Padawan from the High Republic. Now, we don't know about a Terradine in the High Republic. You think that, yeah. I think they might have made a mistake, or we just don't know it yet. We just don't know a Terradine.
More likely, we just don't know it yet. I mean, there's tons of Padawan. There's no way we could possibly know them all. But
yeah. So final questions, guys. Get them out right now. So we have to wrap things up here shortly. But yeah, I think the Acolyte is going to be either an acolyte. It's going to be an acolyte learning about the Sith. That's what it's going to be. Whether it's Darth Talon, whether it's Darth Tenebris.
Oh no!
What's going on here?
So someone just called Saint Pat. Just said, "I need more Sheevy."
Oh man!
And in my mind, took Sheevy and then Sheevy Wonder. Which the Wild Wild West song is based off of a Stevie Wonder song, and my brain just like turned into garbage.
I went the opposite direction. I said Sheevy Wonder, no new member. I would love to see Darth Talon personally. Yes, of course. We need a Darth Twi'lek. Do we have a Darth Twi'lek in canon?
No.
Do you think the Acolytes of the Beyond will appear? No. Is there a is there a canon purpose for the lightsaber pommel?
We'll get like a reason for what's his face in Aftermath, Yoop to Shu. Like it was just creepy as all get out. But we may get some reasons for people like him, and that
do we need
the
it?
Spread of that religion. Do we need it? No. Do we want it? No.
Yeah.
No.
Yeah. No.
Is there a canon purpose behind the lightsaber pommel?
Yeah. It's to close off the hilt.
Yeah.
If there's no pommel, I mean, well, I have a green screen behind me, but if I remove the pommel from one of my lightsabers, like the sled comes out and the electronics just fall out. So I'd imagine it's the same thing a little bit in that world, even though they might have like, you know, pins and screws and stuff. It might just be a little bit more intricate than fabrication in our world. But, you know, pommels could also have a coupling function as well, to couple two lightsabers together, which is a sad thing. I do want to mention this before we wrap things up fully. And this was pointed out to me by Geeky Times. In High Republic, the latest High Republic, we see that.
Follow Geeky Times, by the way. He's great.
Yes, shout out to Geeky Times. We see that one of the two, Tarek or Sarat, is in trouble. But we also see in the promotional material that there's only one Kotabi in that poster, and he's using a staff saber. Meanwhile, Seret and Tarek, the other Kotabi that we know, use single sabers. And so he's like, is this a spoiler? And I'm like, it probably is. We probably just spoiled ourselves, and one of them, like, man. Anyways, I don't want to dive too deep into it. I just wanted you guys to know if you are reading the High Republic, yeah, we may have spoiled the fate of one of the Kotabi twins. Seret and Tarek, which one is it going to be? Who knows? But yeah, I do believe that Chaco is in a hurry, right?
Yeah, I do need to go, and so I apologize. This has been an awesome conversation. It's cool to like
absolutely
hang out and talk with you guys. This is great.
Absolutely. And of course, it's not a requirement that everything be 3 hours long, right? But we can always talk for 3 hours with you guys. You know, every time we have a guest on, I feel like we're never gonna be able to speak about what we want to speak about within the time allotted, just because we can speak all day about it. But as always, thank you guys so much for tuning in to Dyad in the Force. Thank you so much for the super chats, Brian and Ace Bronx, for my packs of ramen. I will pour one out for you. Yeah, toast to you as I eat said noodles. X-Core Gamer Skills, Harith Productions, St. Pat, Brandon Dean, Julia Christine, AJ, the SK Base. Go follow him and subscribe to him on YouTube as well. And Brandon Dean.
Just one quick note on SK Base. AJ, the quality of your YouTube videos makes me mad because like, dang, why does this look so good?
Yeah.
So for sure keep it up. Again, follow Kiki Times if you are not currently doing so. X-Core Gamer Skills says, I love the chat interaction with you guys. This is largely because it's just us. This is why sometimes we'll have a guest on Dyad and not all the time, because sometimes we just want to hang out with you guys.
Absolutely.
So yeah.
Brandon D says Geode is SJW propaganda. Shut your mouth, Brandon. He's a Vintian. But he's not a rock. He's not just a rock.
Brandon, the confusion for me comes because my first name is also Brandon. So when he says "shut your mouth, Brandon," I get sad. No.
Also, AJ.
We stand with Geode.
Absolutely, Geode stands
like a rock.
And AJ, welcome to the Fire Intro Club. That was an awesome intro earlier today. If you haven't seen his video, go check it out.
I have. I need to step up my game. I am lagging behind. Y'all are great.
Yeah. But in any case, that is the end, guys. Thank you for tuning in. On to the next one. We are all the Republic
for
light and life.
And life. And may the Force be with you.
Always. Bye, guys.